Welcome back. So let's continue where we left off. Now, let me remove this file that I created, the index file here. Let me reload it here though. So it's gonna be a localhost template, my drive. Okay, let me make sure that my Apache and MySQL are started. So make sure those two are started. Okay, let me remove the S here. Okay, there we go. So this is our page. Now I can go ahead and delete this page. Delete file, delete it. Okay. So now if I go back to my folder and extract the main page, let me extract just the main page for now. So I'm gonna extract, let me just say extract here. Okay, so we have the index and the assets there. So if I now refresh the page, this is what I get. Okay, now since this submenu here has most of these, I'm gonna go ahead and remove these others here. I think I'll just leave the download version of things here. So I'll click in there to grab the HTML file, and there's a part where there's a table here which has these icons. So I'm going to remove all three of the icons. I think I should have done that here as well. There are only 3 rows here, so I'm removing just those icons from the 3 rows. I want to see what difference it makes. And there we go. Okay, much better. All right, so what I want to do is, first of all, let's get the submenu here active, so that what I want to do is once I right click in the area here, I should get this instead of this default, instead of the default submenu here. So I'm going to right click like this. So anywhere in this table area, actually maybe just in the table here, like that. Okay. So how do we do that? First of all, let's hide. No, maybe let's not hide it there. Let's change a few settings about this. So let's find the thing first of all. So it's right here where it says download, edit. I think this is the part, download, edit, move, and it's got icons. There it is. So this is the container right here. This div from there to there. Okay. Okay. Okay, so what I want to do is let me label it so that it's easier to find. So I'm going to say submenu and close that, and then copy this. Let's go down to the end over here and put end submenu like that. Okay, so maybe what we can do is move it all the way outside to the very end of the document. We can put it right down here. So here I'm going to say models and paste there. Okay. So down here we're going to put all the either menus or any of the floating UIs that we're going to have. So let me remove that break tag. I don't need it. Also, this I tag can go this way instead of being like this. So I'm going to select that. This is just so things look better. Oops, what have I done? Yeah, so let me do this. There we go. Okay. Okay, so great. So everything is working. Now let me just put another class to it. I'm gonna say JS sub menu. Now the reason I've put this class is so we can target it. You can also put an ID, so we can grab by ID if we want, but we can use a class name as well. I think ID is actually faster, so maybe let's do that. So we're gonna say ID is equal to submenu, like that. Okay, so we're gonna leave that. Let's leave the classes. So that's a submenu, so we can actually grab it when we want. Okay, cool. So let me refresh and see what has changed. And the only thing that has changed is it's gone down here, but it still looks the same. Now I want in the table, once I right click, I don't get this, but get that submenu. So first of all, we want to disable this submenu on the table. So let's look for the table. Here's the ending table tag and the opening table tag. So within the table, we're going to put an event here because we know the event is going to bubble, as we learned in the previous video. So we can put it on the topmost thing there. So there's an event called on context menu, and just tell it to return false, like that. So this is JavaScript. It will return false, which means it just doesn't continue. Or you can put event dot, let's try that, event dot prevent default, like that. Okay, let's try that instead. So I'm gonna refresh the page, try to right click, doesn't seem to work. Let's try the return false. Let's see if that actually works. Oops, it doesn't work either. Okay, great. Let's redo what we had done like this. Let's move it to the div that contains the table. Let's see if that, maybe the table doesn't have this event. So let's do that. Oops. Let me drag it to the parent div. There we go. Okay. Doesn't seem to work at all. Okay, so maybe it doesn't work here either, which is weird. It should work. Let's see here. File. Where's my files? My files header is what I'm looking for. File details. Where is that? So I was doing this on the wrong table. So it was working all along. I was just on the wrong table. So let's find the other table, which is this one here. Let's go to the top of it. There it is. Let's paste. So with coding, you need quite an amount of patience because you could easily get frustrated thinking what you're doing, it doesn't work or isn't working. So you have to always double check. So there are two tables. There's this one and this one. So I was dealing with this one. So now if I refresh like this, it doesn't work when I try to right click, but anywhere else it works except on the table itself. So great. Right? So now we can put our own menu, which is this one, in its place. Okay. So first of all, let's hide this menu right there. So what I'm going to do is go down to the menu itself. I've put it at the bottom for easier finding. And then what I want to do is give it a class called hide. Now, since we haven't created any class like that, it's not going to do anything. So let's add some styles at the top here for a start. And I'm going to say dot hide and say display none. So that's just how we're going to be hiding things. When we put the hide class, everything is gone. So this should disappear. And there it is. It's gone. So now we only want it to appear when we right click. Or we're just going to say on click here, let it appear. and I want it to appear right on the coordinates that I want here. Now, in order for this to move freely with coordinates, we have to change some styling on this. So I'm going to do style and say position absolute. That way we can make it, let me remove this class for a second so you see what absolute positioning does to the thing. It's right there, but if we can give it values like left 0, or let's just say 10, like that, and then we'll say top as well 10. Those are in pixels, by the way, and if I refresh, oh wait, why isn't this working as well? Position, this should work. Maybe I should put pixels there, that's why it's not working. Let's try that again. Okay, now it's working. You can see it come up here. So we can move it around anywhere using the coordinates over there. So now what I want is when I click anywhere on the table, this should follow where that click has happened. So all we need to do is move the left hand top values over there to match the mouse click. Okay, so let's put some scripting tags down here that will handle this issue. So script, so that we can put some JavaScript. All right, so here what we will do is let's create a function. Now instead of what can we do? I want to keep things a little more organized, but let's see here. Without making it too complex. Okay, let's just use plain functions instead of objects. I wanted to use objects, but I think let's keep it simple. So here I'm gonna say show sub menu. Actually, no, it's more organized when we use objects, so we're gonna do that. So what I want us to do is this. We're gonna create a variable called sub menu. Okay, so we're gonna call it var submenu is equal to an empty object like this. So inside an object, we can put, an object is kind of like an array where you can store things, many things in one item. So usually you put your key. For example, this is my key. You put a full colon and then you put your value like that. So this is a string value, that's why it's got quotes. I can do this and say key2 is equal to a number like that. So like this submenu has two items within it separated by a comma. So if, for example, I wanted to grab the first item, all I needed to do was say submenu dot, just like we do with the other things, dot key like that. So I can alert myself to the value of dot key, which is equal to value like that. Now if I refresh the page, you will see it says value, and then if I tell it dot key 2, which is this number here, it's going to show me that number like that. So that's how you can store things within this. Now to make it more clear what's happening, you can do it like this. That way you have this variable which is an object and then key and value pairs within there. So you can get those values by doing this. Now, instead of just storing key and value pairs, you can actually store functions in here by giving the thing a name. So for example, here I want submenu.show, and the other item I want to create will be .hide. So this way we have a show and a hide, but I want this, instead of being a value, to be a function. So I'm going to say function like that, and open and close. So same thing here, and I'll put a comma like that so I can add more items. So there's a show variable here which contains a function within it, but since I want to type in more text here, I'm going to separate the two like that so it still works very well. Okay, Then in order to call this, for example, I can just say submenu.show, but don't forget the close, open and close bracket, because this is actually a function. So then it will run. Here I can put an alert here which says show, like that. So let's just test that and see if the alert comes in, and it does. Okay, great. Why did it alert twice? Because there's an alert here and an alert there. Okay, great. So what we want to do now is, what do we do when we say submenu.show? So the first thing we have to do is grab the submenu, of course, and then remove this hide class from there. Okay, that's all we need to do. So let's do document.getElement by ID. So what ID is that? It's submenu. Okay, so I'm gonna say let and var are kind of the same. This one is more efficient because it's more temporal than var. So this actually, because this is a constant that doesn't change, we can actually use const like that. It saves, it's better with memory usage to use const and let whenever possible. So const means I'm not going to change this value. Now I won't change what this is equal to, but I can still change the values inside here, which is fine. Okay, so let I'm just going to call it menu is equal to, let menu is equal to document, and then we grab that menu. Now that menu represents this div right here. So I just want to remove the hide class from there. So all I'm going to do is say menu dot, there's a thing called class list, which lists all the classes that are on that object, and then you can either remove or hide a class or toggle. So in this case, I just want to remove the hide class like that. That's how you do it. Now to hide this thing, we just do the opposite, and instead of remove, we add the hide class, and that's as simple as that. Okay, so we show, we hide, we show, we hide. So now when I click on the table here, where is this? So instead of having this here, when I click, I can remove this and just call the submenu. When I click on that one, right, I can say submenu, which is the object dot show, like that. Okay, so submenu dot show. Then when we go to the dot show here, before I do that, I want to supply the event that happened, so I can do event dot prevent default, by the way. So I'll capture it as E over here, and then that's the first thing I'll do. I'll say E dot prevent default, like that. Okay, let me separate these so we can see a little better, like that. Okay, so E dot prevent default, granted. And then now I want to, first let's just remove that and show it. And when do we hide? Let's see here. Also, I don't want any click here to go onto the window, the main window itself. So over here, I'm going to say E dot stop propagation. That way the event doesn't go further than where it is. Okay. Then at the same time, I want to be able to hide the thing when I click anywhere else but the table. So in that case, I'm going to use the window, so that wherever I click on the window, I can have that. So I can just window.add event listener. So let's do it like that. Now the reason I'm doing this is because there's no window tag here, and I just want the whole window to work like that. So I'll say add event listener. And what am I listening for? I'm listening for a click, right? And when that click happens, I'll supply a function that will run when it happens. Instead of putting the name of the function, I can just put the function directly in there. So in this case, I just want to do a submenu dot hide, like that. Simple and straightforward. Okay, so let's test what we have so far. So I'm going to refresh, and that menu is nowhere to be seen. But if I click, I should see it, but it's not happening. So let's inspect, let's right click somewhere, inspect, and see if we get any errors in the console, and we don't get any errors there. Okay, so that's disappointing. So let's go back and see what's going on. So the only thing we should check is, do we get here first of all? So what I would do is I'm going to do an alert. So let's see if that alert is going to work. So if I click here, I'm not getting that alert at all. Okay, so which means this function isn't running when we click. So let me see what's going on here. Let's go back to the table and let's see what's happening. Okay, so we put this on the wrong place. We put it on the context menu. That is why, which I guess could be correct. Let's see. Yep, it's working. Okay, so I am correct here on doing that. It's the right click. I was clicking instead of right clicking. So actually we don't need to stop the propagation here. This is just fine because these events are different. The one that brings the submenu and the one that hides it are very different. So that's okay. So refresh, right click, and we see it there. So you see that guy over here when we right click, but when I click anywhere, it disappears. Again, I right click, it's back. I click, it disappears. Right click, it's back. Click, disappears, which is good. Now I just want it to come exactly where I have right clicked. So let's see what is contained by doing console.log. What exactly is inside the event? I want to see if it can tell me the mouse coordinates. So I'm going to right click, inspect, go to the console, and then I'll right click once more. So there's context menu there, and you see here it shows client X and client Y. These are coordinates of the mouse button. So that's very good, very convenient. So we're going to use client X and client Y. So what I would do is, once we remove the hide, let's move it. So maybe we can even move it before we unhide it. So I'm going to say menu.style. So that's how you go to grab the styles of an item. So you go to the style object, and then in there you can get one of the styles. So .left, for example, is equal to, and then we're going to say e.client X, like that. Okay, and then we add to the string the pixels because we need that pixel count. So the plus is how you connect two strings or two items together. So this is a number in the x-axis and the number, the pixel there. So let me duplicate here. The top is for the y-axis. So client y pixel, just like that, and then show it. So let's see how that works. So I'm going to refresh and then do that. And as simple as that, you see we have our submenu working like this. Okay. Very neat. All right, so that's how you get your context menu to change into something that that you would want instead. So we're going to edit it a little bit so that it has some hover effects and all that. But for now, this is great. So what I want now is for me to be able to select one of these guys, one of these rows. So this class right here is what I want to show me which one of these is selected. Okay, so let's go to here and create another const like this one. So the reason I'm creating these in form of objects is so that in case I want the submenu to work on a different page, I know I just need to grab this part and paste it on another page. This is more organized. So here I'll call it table. That way I know this works for the table, this works for the submenu, and so on, just for better organizing. So table dot select, or maybe you can call it row dot select, row dot I think select is fine here. This is equal to a function. We can edit these as we wish in case we don't like something. Okay, so now the thing is, I want to know which of these classes is the select class, right? So this is our table right there. Now there's a second row that is selected. So there's table row here and it ends there. And this one is the selected one. So this one has class 38. Let's look at the other one. It is class, no class actually. Okay, so class 38 is what we need to select. Yep, that's what it is. So the table row and the class name there. So let's put an on-click listener. So we can put the on-click on this table body here because the rows are down here. So let's do the on-click right there. Okay, so on this one, I'm just going to say table dot select like that. And then we want to grab the event because the event always contains the information we want. On the bubbling event, where did it come from? Which row exactly did the event? Now, the first thing we have to do is make sure that we remove all classes from all table rows. First of all, once something is clicked, we go through the whole table. But before we do that, actually, let me just show you how. So if we add a class 38 to any of these rows, it means they are selected. So I'm going to remove this class from there like so. Now if I remove it and refresh, you see that the selection is gone. Okay, great. Now let's come down to the select here. So on the click, this table select will be evoked. So now there's something I forgot actually to inform you in the previous video. It's the, instead of target, there are two targets. There's e.target, which is the thing that was clicked, the item that was clicked, but there's also e.current target. So current target is the item that contains the event catcher. So in this case, current target will be this very item where there's the on click thingy. That's current target. But the thing I actually clicked in here will be the target. So I want to know where I click, because when I click, for example, in the table, I can click this icon, this break tag, or this table thingy here. But I want us to know what table row was clicked. Even though the event is here, I want to know exactly just the table row, the general idea. I don't want to know the exact item here. I just want to know the table row of it. All right. So how do we do that? So there are several ways we can do it. Let's see here. Because the event.target will be this one. I have two things. I have the event.target is the thing that was clicked, and then the event.current target is this one here. So now one way we can do this is to put event listeners right on the table row. But because there can be many rows, I don't want to be putting event listeners on each row. That's why I just want to put it on the main one. But at the same time, I want to know which of these was selected. So what we can do is we grab the target and then we loop through each parent of the target until we get to the table row. And then we grab that very item. Okay. So now what we're going to do here is this. We're going to put a variable here called selected. And right now it will be equal to an empty null like that. So this is just a value. It's not a function, just a value to keep the item that was selected, the row. So what I'll do is here, I'll grab e.target, which is the thing that was clicked, right? So we're going to say let item is equal to e.target like that. So that's the item that was clicked. But now we want to loop. So we're going to use a while loop here. We're going to say while item dot tag name is not equal to tr like that. So I like to use capitals because that's how it shows them. So while item dot tag name is not equal to that, keep looping. Okay. So then here we have to change the target. So here I'm going to say item dot is equal to item again dot parent node. So item dot parent node is how you grab the item element of whatever element you're on. Okay, and then by the time okay, now we need a way to stop this because it's possible this can go on forever, the while loop. Okay, if it gets to the body, then we've lost. So let's put two conditions in which this loop can exit. Right now it can exit whenever the item is a table row, but it's possible we can never get to that because maybe the user clicked. There could be many glitches. We just need to add a failsafe just in case. So we say while that is not equal to that, or item dot tag name wait is not equal to body. Okay, so if it turns out let's see here, if it turns out the item is body, right, it's not table row, so this, it's not table row and it's not body, but it is body. So if it's true, then I think it should be an and here. Yep, great. Okay, so let's see. Let's imagine the item is a body tag. So because remember that whenever both of these are true, then it keeps looping. Okay, so first of all, if it's not a body, it's anything else, it's not a table row and it's not a body, it will loop. But if it happens to be a body tag, then this will be false, this will be true. So this and will not work, they need to exit the loop. So this will work just fine. And then once we get here, then we're going to say let's put that if statement as well. If item dot tag name is equal to table row, then table dot selected is equal to item, like that. Okay, great. Now, when we select here, we empty this selection here. So we're going to say table.selected is equal to null to reset it before we can set it to something else. Okay, great. That way, if we don't find it, it remains empty. All right, great. Now, what I want at the end of this is to then add a, so let me do this. So that's the selected item, but then we're going to say also table.selected dot class list dot add. I'm going to add class 38 because that's the selected, to show that something is selected. The row is selected. So let me click on this and you see it's working right away. The only problem is once I select, it doesn't deselect the others, right? So that's a problem. So instead, what we want to do is when we say select, let's set the selected to empty. But then what I want to do is loop through all the table rows in here and then remove all the classes, the class 38. So we can do that by using a loop. So we're going to say for, and then here we are doing the e.current target. Now remember the current target here is, where is this here? Is this the T body? So the T body has kids or children, which are table rows because they are direct descendants. So if we just loop through the children, we're going to get all the table rows without worrying about the other stuff. So we loop through them and just remove any class 38 that could be on them. So let's do that. So once we are current target dot length, but instead of dot length, we have dot children. Like that. Oops. What have I done? Okay, so e.current target is that body thing, and then dot children dot length. How many children it has, that's what we are looping through. And then we grab again e.current target to children I, that specific one, dot class list dot remove, which one? Class 38. Okay. So the first thing we are doing is removing the selection from all of them. We delete the selection from there, remove all of them, and then we do our thing, look for which one was clicked, and then select it. So refresh, and then I click, 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 click. So now it knows exactly which row I have selected. Okay, so if I right click now, I can bring up this menu to deal with the selected row. So just like that. Now, if I right click on another row, you may want the selection to change once you do this, right? That's entirely up to you, which means you can put the, wait, here when we do the submenu.show, you can also check to see what was selected. So right after showing that, we can do a select. We can say table.select and then pass in that E nonetheless. So just by doing that, we can tell it to select on that event as well. That way, when I right click, I both select and show the submenu like that. Okay, so unfortunately, this is not working as intended because the context menu is on a different plane. So as you can see here, let's go here. We can fix this quite literally simply because when the context menu is triggered by this, and then this looks for its kids to remove the 38. So instead of just relying on e.current target, we can actually put an ID on this or a class name regardless. So let me just put an ID here. I'm going to say table body like that as an ID. Okay, that way we can just grab it specifically when we are selecting. So instead of here saying e.currentTarget, we're going to replace this with tbody like that. So we're going to call it tbody. We'll say let tbody is equal to document.getElement by ID table dash body. That's what we called it. And then we use tbody.children blah blah blah. This should solve the problem. So refresh, right click, right click, right click, all good. Okay, very nice. Select, 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 right click, right click, right click. Okay, so as you can see, things are working as intended. Everything good now. So now we know what row is selected. When we right click and we click on a button, we know exactly what row we are supposed to work with. Now, since these are coming from the database, we'll need the IDs as well. But for now, what we need to do is be able to actually upload items here, so that once we upload and then select, we'll have actual IDs to deal with. All right. And the second thing we can do here is to change the content of this depending on what we've clicked here, for example. Also, new folder, let me remove that underscore there. It's driving me nuts. Let's see how that looks. Okay, new folder, that's fine. Let me right click. Also, I want to be able to hover on these guys and display this color over here, right? So we can put that on the hover event. So let's see how we can do this. Okay, so this one has a different class to the others. This one has class 46, like this one, but this one has class 16, right? Now this won't do very well actually. So let's just put class 46 here back on this one. That way all of them, none of these have a black. Let me inspect. I want to see this background color though. This is what it is, and then the color is white. Okay, so I'm going to copy that color, this background color here, so I can maintain it. That's class 46. Now if I refresh and right click, you see it doesn't have that anymore. So let's go back to here and deal with class 46, right? So we're going to do dot class 46 hover like that. So when we hover on that one, the background color should be that, and then the color should be white. Okay, cool. So now I refresh and right click, and there we go. Simple as that. Boom. Okay, but on this one here, we need to know what page we're on and then change the content from this to something else. So here, first of all, I just want to be able to click on one of these and then change the class name to reflect what's there without having to refresh the whole page. So first of all, a click here should just change that. So how do we do that? Let's check out the classes that are involved here. So what we want to do is get a little bit more organized down here in the JavaScript. So I'm going to go down to this. Okay. So here what I want to do is I want us to know what mode we are in. So I'm going to do again const like this and say mode is equal to like that. Okay. Okay. I don't know if I need a semicolon down here, but regardless, maybe not. Okay, so the mode we are in. Actually, maybe let's do current like this. So what mode do we start from? So I'm gonna call this one my drive like that. Okay. Mode.current. I think this is taking things too far. Okay, what I'm gonna do is let's just use var. Instead, let's do this. I think we don't have to go this far. So var mode is equal to my drive. That's all. I think this will work just fine. And let me put these modes on the... so here we are on the menu itself. So this is the main menu. So let me remove these break tags I don't need. And like that. Okay. Drive space. This is for drive space there. This doesn't seem to have any content there. Just want to reduce the space. Okay, so this is the menu here. My drive. Why is drive space over here at the top? Because I used... okay, I understand now. Okay, so the menu starts with here. So if I click on this, this is class 16 because it's selected. The rest are class 18 because they are not selected. So this is our culprit right there. So my drive. Now we can add data here by just saying, creating new attributes and just say mode is equal to, and then we can put my drive in there like that. And then I can copy this and put it on there. This one is favorites. Okay, let's put another mode here, recent, and another mode, trash. Oops. Actually, instead of even doing this, let's put an event instead. Sorry about this, because there are so many ways we can do this. And okay, so instead of mode is equal to, let's change this a little bit. Let's put this on an on-click listener. So I'm going to say on-click so that it's direct. And then here I'm going to say on-click. We're going to do mode.set. And then put that like that and close it. Okay. So we need that object after all. So I'm going to create an object and create the set function in there and then set the mode like that. Okay. So let's go down to the thing. That's why I wanted to create an object in the first place. Okay. So that makes more sense. Let me cut this and do this instead. Then let's create set as a function and then mode that we're going to receive from there like so. And then we need to keep the current mode somewhere. So we're going to say current and then my drive like that, comma. Okay, so mode.current will always start with my drive. This is always the current one once we load the page. And then we can set it to something else. So instead of just setting here, we can just say mode.current is equal to whatever mode was supplied in here, like so. Okay, great. Now once that mode is set, we need to be able to set the right, what's this? Mod.set. We need to be able to set the correct thing there. So let me come back here a second. So I want to be able to set the mod at any point. So what I'll do is grab this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want to be able to grab all these guys that have the similar class name, either class 16 or class 18. Let me see how many of these classes are there. Okay, so there's only class 18 and then there's class 16 for the selected one. So I can search for these guys all together. So that's great. Okay, so that's cool. But then I need to know which one of these evoked the I need to be able to isolate one of these without using the event. The reason I don't want to use the event, because here I can easily send event like this, so that once I click on this, the event is sent and it will tell me exactly which object was clicked. But the problem with this is if I want to, let's say I want to change the mode of the page, what page I'm on, without the click event, right? I'm going to have a problem because I won't have this event here. So I want to be able to change the mode without the need of an event. That way maybe new information was gotten from the server and then I want to change to a different tab like favorites. I should be able to do that without the click of a user. So in order to isolate that, I need a way to actually be able to grab which one of these was clicked depending on the mode that is being set. So I would rather just use the mod as an ID. So I'm gonna grab this and put there, so I can grab these individually depending on the mode that we are being asked to shift to. So maybe that won't make sense now, but eventually it will. So ID again, let's just use the same mode in there. Okay. Now we can even change this so that we don't have to retype. You see here we are repeating ourselves with data, and every time you're repeating yourself is not good. So instead of me, because if I want to change the name of this mode, I have to change 2 places, which is not very good coding. So instead, what I'll do here, I'll just say this.id. So I'm sending whatever the ID is in there. So that way, if I edit this, even that changes. So I'll put this.id on all of these guys, like so. Okay, like that. Oops. What is going on? There we go. Okay, so that still works as intended. So now what I'm going to do is go down here. So once we set the current mode, the mode is also the ID of the item we should set to a specific class name, right? So what I'm going to do now is say document dot get element by ID, and let's just put the mode in there like that, and then we say dot class list dot add. Actually, we have to remove one and then add another. So remove one and add the other. So there's class 16. What's the other class name? I forget. So there's class 18 and 16. Those are the 2 contenders. So 16 is when it's selected. So when we select, we want to add then remove 18. Okay, so we remove class 18 and put 16 in its place. Let's try that. Refresh, click, and as you can see, it's working and the mode is changing as well. But then the usual thing we have to remove from the others first, and then that's when we can do this. So in order to remove from the others, what I'm gonna do is say let, I'm gonna call them buttons, is equal to document. Now there's another way to grab items, it's called query selector, like so. Now with query selector is more powerful than get element by ID. That's because if you want to search for a class, you can just do dot class 18. So I want to grab all those that have a selected class, which is class 16 actually, like that. I can grab whichever item has that class name. Usually it's one item, so maybe I didn't need this whole thing, but if I did need that, I would do this and then like this. So if I did this, I would grab both items, query selector, actually like that. Like this, I could create an array of items. I'll grab all the ones with 16 and all the ones with 18 and then remove. But I've just realized I don't need to do this. I just need to grab one of them, that's all. So instead of get element by ID mode, actually I need the class name. So I'm gonna still use query selector because it's the one that I can use to grab classes. Okay, so in this one, I want whatever item has class 16, which means it's the one that's selected, and then dot class list dot remove class 16, the same class we've used to grab the item. So maybe let's do this. Let selected is equal to, this is the selected guy. So let me get that. So I just grab the item, right? And then now I can say selected dot class list dot remove 16 and then add 18. That's just to remove the selection from it. And then grab this one, new selected. Let's do this as well. So here I'm going to put new. Okay, so we're removing 16 and adding 18 to remove the selection, and then here we're removing in the new selected, actually we don't have to remove anything. Oh yeah, we do have to remove 18 and add 16. Okay, there we go. Hopefully that will actually work. Let's see. Nah, it's not working. So let's go inspect and see what the error is. Selected is null. Okay, where is it? Selected dot remove 16. Okay, let's see here. Okay, I forgot the dot here. Sorry. Query selector requires you to specify. If it's a class, you put a dot. If it's an ID, you put a hash. This is a class. Let's put that dot there. Okay. So let's refresh and let's try again. And now it's working. Now, in order for you to see that the mode is changing as well, we can do an alert here and say alert mode.current like that. So JavaScript knows what mode we are in. That way we can replace the document here easily. So undefined, undefined. Why? mode.current, which is this one here. Mode.current is equal to mode. What? Right. So the problem is this and this are the same word. So I need to change one of these. So instead of using mode here, I'm just gonna call it what do I call it? A, or I'll just put M so that we know which one we are talking about. That's mode.current is equal to that. Mode.current means this. This one is set to M. Okay, so that's fine. Refresh. Let's try again. So here it says favorites. Here it says recent. Here it says trash. Great. But why isn't it working there? That's because when grabbing this, we should use M instead of mode there. So let's refresh. Let's try that. Let's try that. Let's try this. Okay, so now we're on the trash page. Here we are on the My Drive page, and so on. So now we need to match the content here to the tab that we are on. That will be the next task over here. Oh, so this disappears when you click. We're gonna need to fix that as well. Okay, so far so good. I hope you have seen how we are using events to do things here in JavaScript. So in general, this is the script we have so far. The important thing is to organize your script very well. Just like we are doing here, we're creating constants. At least we know all the functions and variables that have to do with the table are in one place like so. We also know the submenu items are in here. Whenever we want to add something pertaining to the mode, we add it in there. So organizing your script is very good. Now, eventually we're going to move our script into a separate file, but for now, this works better because you don't have to worry about browser caching and all of that. Okay, so far so good. The rest will be done in the next video. I will see you then.